delicious. If I played Blink 182 for aliens, they would get offended and start an interdimensional war. Let me tell you, I need another beer.
What are you watching?
Children's programming.
Dick Cheney.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll do our little intro and then we'll get right into it. So.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Children's Programming, the only podcast in the world.
The only one.
You're hanging out with our boy, Matthew J. Bartholomew Thomas J. Dixon.
Hi, kids. It's good to be back.
And I am your co-host, the evil mastermind, Nick Paradies, fresh off a red-eye flight from Georgia.
We love it. We like the dedication that you came to us here late at night. And today we're joined by a very special guest, world-famous YouTube star, Mr. Beat, a.k.a. Matt Beat, known for his political... content on political educational content.
It's like a
on
social studies class on YouTube, I would say.
That was the first question we wanted to get to. Like, did you use this originally as a method for teaching your students? Was that the original point?
Absolutely, yeah. I started the whole thing just to engage my students. At the time, it was middle schoolers, more into the content, because I had stuff that I had to teach, part of the curriculum. Like my first video ever I made was about the Compromise of 1850. And I was like, how do I make this exciting to 8th graders? And I uploaded it only for them. Like it was a private link. And that was way back in like the fall of 2009. And so it was several years later that I started to realize that I could do this for students outside my classroom. And because that was when I was realizing that other teachers were showing my stuff. And then even later on, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make videos about what I want, stuff that I'm just genuinely curious about. And as it so happens, those videos did better anyway. So it worked out.
I think people can kind of smell that when you do something that you're passionate about, and people... I think people really can sense that something in the air and respond to it, and I'm not surprised at all that those are the ones that did the best for you, because that's been kind of our experience too, right? Like when we have topics on this show that we genuinely love, like we talk films a lot, and people really those are the ones that I think people really respond to.
Yeah,
those are the ones we get the most traction on.
And I really love like when I was in high school and middle school, like teachers would do that, but it was more like they would kind of just record over like a little PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. But your videos like really go in depth on things, and it's like almost like I can see where your students might be really interested to learn because of that.
Yeah, and it's not hokey. You know what I mean?
No.
Like there's that.
It's not.
It's kind of.
You have like this dry, like Bill Murray almost-esque sense of humor to your videos, and it's very like it's
wow, what a compliment!
It's very
that
like
is.
entertaining.
I love.
It's
Bill
kind
Murray.
of like I feel like it's kind of like a lot of teachers are just so out of touch. I think at least that was my experience, and it seems like you kind of have your finger on the pulse of what kids are going to respond to. You know what I mean? And it's hokey, but it's in that it is hokey, but it's in a good way. You know what I mean? Like it's in that like fun, like like PBS Kids kind of way, I guess you would say.
There you go.
The thing is, I do get bored with people my own age, and so I think that's why what's one reason why I enjoy teaching is because I younger folks excite me more. As far as like it's mostly because they're not so cynical and jaded yet, even though that's the stereotype of teenagers is that they're jaded. But no, they're actually quite hopeful and idealistic. So that's a big thing that kind of drives me.
I think it's nice, too, because a lot of middle school kids, you're coming from, I don't know how it is in your district, but with my school, like when they merge the different elementary schools together, there's a lot of conflict and there's obviously a lot of, puberty stuff going on and kids are stressed.
It was definitely like that.
Yeah.
You're in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Is it like a bigger school district, like a city type of school district, or more like a rural area out there?
I've worked in all types, but the latest is it's a very small district. It's more rural. Like it's technically part of the Kansas City metropolitan area, but it's way on the edge.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely a lot of kids that they've driven tractors before and they actually did it just as part of their job.
Because like my high school had like probably almost 4,000 kids in it. So like I can't wrap my head around like stuff like that. It's mind-boggling. There's like 3,000. There was like 600-700 kids in my graduating class.
Yeah, I had like about half of that. So you were a huge school district.
We're like an hour outside of New York City, so it's very suburban up here.
Definitely.
Are you on the Long Island or are you
We're
north?
Much north. We're like you know where Newburgh is?
Vaguely,
yeah. It's like
we're about halfway between New York and Albany, I would say, right? I think that's a fair...
yeah, so you're in you're not that far from Kinderhook then. Martin Van Buren's home turf.
Go.
Sorry for that rare history reference there.
I've driven through it once, and I remember seeing the sign, and I was like, "Holy shit! The president was born here."
Yeah,
you know, you don't expect it because it's in your own backyard. FDR too.
Then you got Hyde Park, Franklin Roosevelt.
That's like an hour outside of here.
That far.
We went on a school trip there once.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm envious of being in Kansas is like we don't have. I mean, we have historical, locations where historical sites, but just not that much. You know, there's just so much more history back east, and I kind of get jealous of that. Like, I have to really drive far if I want to go to a lot of historical sites to film. You know.
Yeah, but you're kind of in the middle, so I guess it's it's sort of a decent trip to if you're going up to maybe
decent trip everywhere.
Yeah, decent trip everywhere. You're right in the middle, so you cut your time in half.
I gotta ask, because you're from Kansas, are you over the moon about the Jayhawk upset from last night?
Oh man, that's funny. You must really follow college football, then, huh? Yeah, that was awesome. I was on Reddit, and boy, people were having fun with that. Like, apparently Texas has a lot of haters, which
who knew? Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? Yeah, I know. It's like but no, I did graduate from University of Kansas, and so I'm a Jayhawk fan. Obviously, we usually follow college basketball a little bit more than football, but it is great to see a win like that when their team really has been really bad over the last several years.
So I was gonna bring that up because you're a Jayhawk guy, and this is not Jayhawk related, but it is. I don't know where
it's
I'm
Jayhawk
going.
and Jays.
Jayhawk and Jays. But so like the video that introduced me to you was your 9/11 video, and I remember when you filmed it like outside of your dorm, I believe it was. Am I correct in that? And that was the first one I saw of yours, and I remember being really impressed with like the production value, and that was what kind of got me there. And I hate to bring up a sad moment in the country's history, but yeah, I just wanted to say that was a really impressive video, and it was.
Well, thank you. I actually, that's the video I'm the most proud of. I lived through it when I was I was 19 years old.
It's
I think.
Pretty recent,
and so
too, right? That you made that.
Yeah. So, and the fact that I live. Like, I moved away for a while, but my family and I moved back to Lawrence, where University of Kansas is. And so, I was like, hey, and they really are getting ready to tear that building down. And so I was like, wow, what a weird, it's kind of poetic there, And so considering like all the buildings coming down, and I have so many great memories there. But then, a lot of those memories were 9/11. And I think that's one of the best ways to kind of tell a story about history. Like my students in the classroom, they usually perked up a little bit when I told them about my personal experience with something. Like another example would be like when Osama bin Laden was killed. Like I know exactly where I was when that happened, when they announced it, when Obama came out and announced it. Even the recent pandemic, I mean, that is something, it's such a historic event that we're still living through. But we'll never forget what we've been going through these past couple of years.
Yeah, it's very important to like cover topics like that because, I remember when I was in high school, my teacher made a point saying that like, you're pretty much the last generation or the generation coming that will have not lived through 9/11 because we were kind of like on the tail end of it. So probably like 2 years after we graduated, it was the first year of kids that hadn't been alive.
Yeah. Like my sister was not alive.
Yeah. So it's a really important thing to cover if you're of age.
Even then, I barely remember it. Like I remember watching Barney, and then my mom changed the station and told me to leave and do something else. Like, I don't really have a conception of what it even was. So it's to keep that alive, I think, is very important.
It's cool to see different generations, because we're obviously we're maybe a generation behind our friend here. And, it's interesting to see how people who were of age at that time, went through it, because seeing that we didn't really have any experience of it because we don't really remember too well, it's, I can't imagine how much of a significant, world moment that was. And how we don't really have those kind of moments. We don't want to have those kind of moments, but they do happen, 3 or 4 times over the course of anybody's lifetime.
Speaking of moments, when was the moment that when it crystallized in your head that, this channel is so much bigger than I ever thought it would be?
Oh, wow. That was a long time ago, because I really couldn't believe that anybody would watch this stuff other than my students that I was forcing them to watch, but when that first started to happen, though, was especially my presidential election series. That was in 2016. I guess part of what kind of drove people searching for that content was it was an election year, and I was one of the only people who had made videos about every single presidential election in American history. So, and then people were following the series, and they couldn't wait for the next episode. And it was leading up to the election day, and I was like, wow, maybe I could do this. And full disclosure, I recently became a full-time YouTuber. I recently left my high school.
Oh, really?
So I do this full-time now. I get up at 6 a.m. still, but instead of driving to the high school 30 minutes away, I'm going down to my basement and making educational videos. And it's I do miss my students, but at the same time, that last year was rough, man.
Was that the COVID year with the remote learning?
We were teaching remote kids at the same time as teaching in person. Every day it was a constant battle, pull your mask up. And parents started to be more aggressive, and teachers have always been treated like crap. But the fact that I was getting paid more money to make silly educational YouTube videos, I was like, this is absurd. What kind of society do we live in? And maybe this is driving me even more to teach everybody about social studies, like the vaccine thing. I know you probably didn't want to talk about that, but we just really quickly, all the anti-vaxxers right now, it's such been there, done that. This has happened so many times throughout history. I made a video about a Supreme Court case, Jacobson v. Massachusetts, and it's literally about anti-vaxxers not wanting to get the smallpox vaccine, and thinking that the government was, trying to control the population and all this. And I'm like, well, in that case, the Supreme Court understood it's a balance. You got to figure it out. And ultimately, what they said was, the state can have a mandate. The federal government can't have a mandate, but the state can. And then it was settled that was 100 years ago, though, 110 years ago. Yeah. But most people don't know about that case today.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because does that make some of the current federal mandates unconstitutional then? Not to get into the weeds,
the one that's,
but
No, the Biden mandate, where he has already been challenged, where he was, his administration was trying to skirt around it, saying, well, they don't have to get vaccinated, but if they don't get vaccinated, they have to get tested. Mm-hmm. And it's only for companies that are bigger than whatever it was, 100 employees or more. And so it was, it's probably going to end up being struck down, but
because I've been thinking about that a lot lately, lately. My day job employer, the as of yet unnamed Australian themed restaurant chain, but they recently made that a company policy that if you don't get the vaccine, you have to get regular tests starting January 1st. And there's a lot of kind of toing and froing from certain people about, I don't want to do this. I shouldn't have to do this, X, Y, and Z. And so it's been on my mind lately. Yeah. So it's
a good debate always to have, where is that line between personal freedom and collective responsibility, which people are hardliners. They just go all the way one direction. I'm like, dude, you you live in a society, right? And that's, to me, is alarming because like, were they actually taught social studies? Because the whole purpose of social studies is like you live in a society, so we got to figure out a way to live with each other. And you're not really helping things, buddy, when you're walking around with Jewish stars. Like, I'm such a victim because I have to wear a mask. Like, okay.
If we're really going in the weeds here, is there any connection you can make in your research in the past of any similarities to 2016 to any previous election in history, as far as how like out there that result was? You know what I mean?
2016 or not 2020?
And to kind of piggyback on that, because like I hear a lot of people in my generation and our generation say like this is the most divided the country has ever been. Do you think that that's true?
The only other time was the 1850s. That was the only other time we were more divided. But I would say that it's based on my understanding of American history. This is a very divisive time, and it is historic. And you know, we can go into why that is. I mean, it's mostly media, how we consume media. But I mean, I will say that there have been certain politicians that have capitalized on that divisiveness, you know, because like, hey, it's easier to get clicks and build clout on social media if you can fire people up. And when you fire people up, that just makes us even further divided.
That's true.
Right?
What did you make of Andrew Yang kind of going independent and saying like the Democratic Party has lost me?
Well, I was at first I was a little skeptical because I know that third parties have no money and no support from mainstream media outlets. So I was skeptical, but I dug more into it, and I think it's mostly for him. I've noticed he doesn't really care that like his party is willing to work with Democrats and Republicans, like willing to endorse Democrats. I'm maybe some Republicans, but mostly Democrats. So it's not like they're going to be like a separate thing. They're going to be working with the Democratic Party.
And I also wanted to kind of piggyback on that, and you know, with your experience and your research and all of that stuff, do you think that with the way social media is going, where you can build a brand online and you can kind of present yourself how you want to be presented, kind of no obstruction and no filter? Do you think we're moving toward a world where third-party candidates and independent candidates will start to get more and more possible and frequent?
Yeah, it's only if we have ranked choice voting or if we have some kind of parliamentary democracy where you're not voting for just all or nothing for one candidate, lesser of two evils. You're voting for a party and a share of representation in Congress, which you see in Canada, you see it in many European countries and Asian countries. Most of the world has figured out, most of the democratic world has figured out that some kind of parliamentary way to go is more, it makes it so that division is not as you see more coalitions, people working together that normally wouldn't work together. So we have to get rid of this, the Electoral College, first past the post. Basically, the term for that, what I hate is plurality voting, which I made a video about this. But plurality voting is where you just have two candidates, and whoever gets over 50%, or I'm sorry, yeah, it's not majority. It's just whoever gets the most votes wins everything, and that is like for so many people that turns them away from voting because they're just like, you know, they see the two candidates. And they're like, I don't like either one of them, and I feel like why should I vote? Or so yeah, if you have ranked choice voting, are you guys familiar with ranked choice voting very much?
It's like you pick your top choice, the second choice, and the third choice, and then it gets points based on each choice. And
then like the one of the least first place votes gets eliminated, and you take their second, right, and then so on.
Yep.
Okay.
New York City did it. There's a bunch of cities around the country that have already been doing it, like Fargo, North Dakota, of all places. So, and there's not just ranked choice voting. There's also score voting. There's also there's a couple others. All of it's better because you have more of a say. Like, because a lot of us, we have opinions about a bunch of candidates, not just two candidates.
Yeah.
So
No.
Do you have a hard out at 30? Can you want to go 15 more? Is that okay?
Oh wow, yeah, we can go
Is that
15
okay?
more.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you too long. 'Cause
I know you got the Chiefs game coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, are you guys Jets or Giants fans?
I'm not a huge one way either either way. The only sports team I have a real genuine personal connection to is the Red Sox, surprisingly, believe it or not. But I'm a die in the wool Red Sox fan. But other than that, I just kind of like to watch sports any way they come. But I've been very fascinated by the Jets over the last few weeks because of the quarterback controversy that has now resolved itself into not a controversy, with Mike White having the best debut ever and then predictably fumbling the bag against the Bills.
I think I'm more of a Bills fan these days because he's my quarterback in fantasy, and he's why
I was gonna say you're praying for a good night tonight because you need Tyreek Hill. This guy's going for an undefeated fantasy season over here.
Yeah,
it's 9-0 right now.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
I'm not jinxing it. I mean, knock on wood right now, but
he said he's gonna get a tattoo if I finish the perfect season.
If you finish the perfect season, I'm getting a Green Day Father of All Motherfuckers, your favorite Green Day album. I'm getting it tattooed right here on my leg.
All right.
And I'll get it done live on the podcast.
I'm gonna keep you to that.
I promise.
I don't think it's gonna happen though.
You better make it happen.
Yeah. How does it feel like Kansas sports has really blown up over the last at least 10 years? Because then you had the Royals win that. Is that Missouri or is that Kansas City, Kansas?
I have a video about that as well. Of course, it's the Missouri side, but we all follow.
Okay, you have the same sports teams generally.
We're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any was that a big deal when the Royals won? Because I'm a die in the wool Mets fan, so obviously I cried.
I mean,
he was crushed.
Yeah, I was very crushed.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry about your Mets, but 2015, that was 30 years since they had won a World Series, and then the year before it kind of was a heartbreaker type of situation. But yeah, the Royals are a small market team, and they clearly have struggled since. And then the Chiefs, oh gosh, my whole life. I mean, that was right before the pandemic started, the 2020. It was 50 years since they won a Super Bowl. And so everybody around here was going crazy, myself included, which, I had tried to not watch Chiefs as much because I don't think it's healthy. But, when you start watching them when you're 7 years old, it just stays with you your whole life, whether you want it to or not. So.
Since you're into the more political stuff, what is your thoughts on these teams having to change their name these days? Because obviously you live in a part of the world where you have a Native American mascot. Maybe less offensive than something like the Redskins, but
the chicken could still come home to roost at some point.
Yes, they could come for you at some point.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, it's one of those things where people could be offended by anything, but if it's a majority of people that are offended, that's when you just kind of have to just okay. It's kind of like there's certain cuss words, where society just says, okay, this word is really bad. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll avoid saying it when I'm on the subway, so I don't, if people are offended by Chiefs as a team name, then they should change it. I think Redskins was a little easier, like you said, but maybe someday, the Irish will be offended by the Fighting Irish, Notre Dame. I always wondered about that one too. I'm like, should we change that too?
There's a junior college in Pennsylvania, not that far from us. That the team name is the Fighting Scots. I always thought that was funny.
I don't know. It seems like the more what's the word? Underprivileged minority it is.
Well, Indians and Redskins were the two that clearly at some point, once the ball got rolling on stuff like that, those were the ones that were going to be changed. Blackhawks is kind of in that middle ground, I think. And then Braves and Chiefs, I feel like, are probably safe, but you just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, my high school where I taught, they were the Chieftains, and their mascot was, it's a real Indian chief. He was an American Indian chief locally that was actually kind of a cool guy, and everybody the kids are taught the history in elementary school, and so it truly is to honor Chief Tonganoxie. That's
kind of like what Florida State did.
Yeah,
where they got the Seminole Nation to like back them.
That's important. As long as the organization or the tribe endorses your team, or at least if there's some sort of like recognition there, I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of the fun too is like seeing what they come up with after. Like sometimes you'll get Cleveland Guardians where it's just awful,
it's garbage fire,
and they should have picked Spiders.
Yes,
I'll die on that hill. By the way, do we have an update about the ongoing Cleveland Guardians legal case?
I don't know anything about it. I like you said, I'm more of your side. I think that they're going to change the name again at some point, but who knows?
I predicted on a previous episode that they'll rechange the name to Spiders within 5 years.
Oh,
I like
that.
That's my
name.
Herschel Walker-esque prediction.
Yeah,
but
okay.
But yeah, I mean, like St. John's was the Redskins, and now they're the Red Storm. And I think Red Storm is just it's cool. Nobody else has that name. You know, it's like Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Like nobody's gonna think of that besides you.
It's a touchy subject, but it's just interesting to hear like other people's perspectives on it. Definitely.
Yeah. Do
So,
you have any? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Do you have any videos or series of videos that you want to make that you haven't yet?
Yeah. Well, this is a good segue because I have really wanted to make a series on Native American nations. Like there's a college nearby where I live where it's a great resource where I can probably dig into some archives and talk to experts but just like I feel there's shout out to a YouTube channel called Native American History. I think that's the name of it, where there's short animated videos. Like they have a really good one on the Comanche but I feel like this is they were here for thousands and thousands of years, and like so much history, and not much is written down. That's because we basically historians call all history before written record prehistory for that reason. Like oh, that's archaeologists that they need to figure that stuff out. But I do think that their story is important and it's not heard enough. So,
dude,
it's ambitious. I don't know if I can pull it off. Maybe I can. If you guys know anyone who could help me on that,
dude, I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah,
I wish I knew somebody,
Really?
but I would watch the shit out of that in Native American history. That'd be awesome.
I've always thought of Native Americans as like the really most underappreciated minority in the country because they really just don't get enough like attention.
Well,
the only time you really
there's so few of them left.
Yeah,
it's like that.
And the reservations today, the poverty on the rereservations. Just
the alcoholism and all the poverty.
Yeah.
And
there's
no
a few.
jobs.
There's a few in upstate that I've driven through on the way to like Buffalo or Syracuse, and you stop to get gas because you can get gas without tax, and you just see like 5 miles off the interstate like the worst poverty you've ever seen in your life. It's like what country am I in?
There's a great documentary if you can ever track it down. It's called Broken Rainbow. They showed it to us in college. I think it won Best Documentary in like 1985. And it really shows like it's about the displacement of a certain tribe of Native Americans. And it just shows how like the government's really like just they don't care at all about like moving people from one place that they've always known to the next.
Yeah.
Because as far as they're concerned, it's like, oh, this is oil land. This is land we can use for real estate. It's very sad to see, and that's a movie that's 30 years old, and we're still seeing, like the Standing Rock, protests a couple years back. This is the kind of stuff that's still going on.
Wounded Knee, I think something like that happened too. Like there was a pipeline or something that went through, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but I've had a couple teachers when I was in college. They were really into the Native American rights thing.
Yeah.
One of my old professors, I think she's passed by this point, but I remember she used to show us a lot of Native American stuff because her husband, who had passed away, was a Native American from a tribe, so she was always very passionate about that. But
cool.
It's sad. I wish there was more videos like that out there that could explain this kind of stuff to people, because the Native American stuff in American history that we're taught, it's kind of just like one little section of that of that unit.
I feel like, at least in my experience, people also kind of teach it as if it happened a long time ago, and it's still happening now. Yeah. And I think that's kind of overlooked by a lot of people. But I wonder how much of that is just visibility. There's just not a lot of American Indians left in this country. There's like that old Chris Rock bit from one of his specials where he's like, I've seen a polar bear riding a unicycle, but I've never seen an Indian family hanging out at Red Lobster.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's true. There's just I've met maybe like 5 Native American people in my whole life. We live in New York.
Well, I think you touched on something, and I think that's a big thing that I try to spread is empathy, because I feel like so many Americans, especially, I'm always talking trash on Americans, but this is my country. I love this country, but we generally are not empathetic to other cultures, and we think that our culture is superior. Whatever our culture is actually just, it's a bunch of cultures all mixed together. And I mean, on your table right now, I see many different cultures. For crying out loud, you got Shaq Fu, you've got Game Boy. I mean, Game Boy comes from Japan. Shaq Fu, that's Kung Fu mixed with African American. Shaq, of course. Citizen Kane.
Very American.
Greatest screenplay of all time. But that's based off of, oh gosh, who's the real life
William
guy
Randolph
that was based
Hearst.
off of? Yeah, William Randolph Hearst.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, like, I just feel like we are a melting pot, but it seems like because there's been so much assimilation, and we're a big country, we just think we're the center of the universe, and we're so we just need empathy. Like, we need to, like, even like a lot of my students have never really left their town.
Mm-hmm.
They've never even and I've taught poor kids, rich kids, everything in between, kids of all skin colors, religions, and it's the same, all of them. They don't get out of their neighborhoods. They hang out with people just like them. So it should be no surprise we're seeing all this hate that in society, because they just don't have empathy. That's what drives me, trying to spread the empathy. And I think it should be mandatory that people get out of their country. Like, studying abroad should be mandatory, or Peace Corps or something, where you're for, like, especially like a country that's impoverished,
Get some culture. I really appreciate that in your videos too. Like, you'll always see a few comments here and there where people are like, I don't completely agree with you, but I appreciate your, balanced approach to a topic.
Right.
And that's very important. Like, you don't want, I hate when some people go, like, you'll see that in, networks like Vice, or on one end of the spectrum, or Fox News on one end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Where they'll just like say, this is how history happened, and you have to accept it the way it is, and that's just that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like your approach, where you kind of teach it from an educational perspective, obviously. And, it can come off where it's very neutral and very, like, welcoming for somebody who doesn't know anything about the subject.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always in good faith, and I'm not trying to. I mean, I think really what helps me is that I don't really have my mind made up on most things. Like, I always play devil's advocate, and I can always see all sides, not both sides, but all sides, because there's never just two sides. And it's funny that you said Vice was on the left, though. Like, I love Vice, and here's the reason why. It's not just one person. It's like a team of thousands, and that is true journalism, though, because you know what they do? They go to these places. Yeah. Like, your average newscaster has never been to Libya, but then Vice is the only one. How did they get somebody? Vice had somebody in a tunnel with Hamas.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was gonna say, like, I think MSNBC is more the comparison there.
MSNBC.
I love Vice. I'm not crapping on them. I'm just as an example.
But like, there's a distinct difference between, because journalism, I defend it because that's my other degree. I have 3 degrees. Who am I kidding? History, education, journalism.
That's awesome.
Yeah, student loan debt.
I know the feeling.
But no, journalism. I defend journalists because, man, they've been getting attacked just as much as more than teachers in recent years, and they're just trying to figure out what the truth is. And most journalists are just, what drives them more than anything is they're curious. Mm-hmm. Like, they're the type of kid that, well, most kids are like this. Kids are like curious until they reach middle school, and then they stop being curious. But then journalists keep being curious. They keep asking questions. They won't stop asking questions. And we need people like that.
But that's
sorry for rants over.
It's cool, and I think that's an interesting perspective too, especially about like the whole Vice compared to the mainstream news networks. You know, like reminds me of when Bill O'Reilly lied and said he was like in an active war zone.
No, that was Brian Williams.
Brian Williams, yeah. That's right. Yeah,
Brian Williams. Yeah.
He said he was like
something tells me Bill O'Reilly would go nowhere near one of those airfields.
Oh no, Bill O'Reilly said that he was like at the guy's front steps when he committed suicide or something like that, and like no, we have proof that
those are basically all those anchors are basically reaction channels. Yeah. That's all they are
more
for
or less.
The news. So, talking heads.
So
they walked so Keemstar could run. Is that what you're saying?
I love it.
That's one way to put it.
All right, so I think we're at about our 45-minute time limit here. So
yeah.
Thank you for taking the time out. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry the last few weeks it's been kind of up and down, like getting this all together, but we were really looking.
Oh no,
we're really looking forward to this, and we're very honored that you took the time to hang out with us today.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching
Absolutely.
out.
So we wish you the best of success. You're doing a great thing. So I hope you enjoy your full-time job now doing this, because we really enjoy it, and we look forward to more of your videos.
Yes, sir. Best of luck.
Well, thank you, and stay in touch.
All right. What's that flag back behind you, by the way? That second one over with the American flag. The yellow and red one?
That's the Chiefs flag.
Oh, nice.
That's the Chiefs flag. I got to go watch my Chiefs now. Speaking
go for it, dude.
Go enjoy.
All right, take care.
Thank you. But yeah, so fresh off the plane from Georgia is your boy over here.
Yeah, you're you're in the South. You're close to him, sort of, kind of south of Jace. Georgia, Kansas,
Kansas, and Georgia are nowhere close.
They're
to
neighbors. Other, might as well be, So yeah,
I'll be closer when I'm in Nashville, but that is neither here nor there.
Don't remind me.
But yeah, so we flew down. It was Division III cross country nationals.
Yeah.
So I took the team down, myself and Todd, our lovely head coach over there.
That's wonderful.
We took we were planning on taking everybody. Everybody made it, but our one girl, Caitlin, unfortunately tested positive, so she wasn't able to make the trip.
But your guy did finish All-American,
well.
You said.
Yeah. Our number one guy, Bailey Katzman, out of Washingtonville. Shout out Bailey. He's a coach's All-American, 22nd place, so top 25 at the Nationals meet. Top 25 are listed All-Americans. Top 15 is NCAA All-American, and then 16 through 25 is coach's poll All-American. Yeah. So, well, really 1 through 25. But so if you're top 15, you get 2 All-American awards, and if you're 16 through 25, you get 1. But All-American is All-American, and it's the second one in program history. Especially not having a season last year, I didn't know what to expect with this year. Because obviously with COVID, everything was canceled last year. But we had these kids stuck it out the whole time, and I want to give a shout out to all of them: Bailey, Sam, Antonio, and Xavier. I couldn't ask for a better group of, and Kate too, because Kate would have been there, and obviously we wish her well, and I'm glad that she's feeling better and all of that stuff. But
cool,
but it was so cool to just get the kids to have this experience, because that's what coaching to me is all about. It kind of what Mr. Beat was talking about with his students. Like I feel like the reward for me is that I learned from these kids, and it was beautiful to be able to get them this experience. I mean, Antonio had never flown on a plane before, so this was literally his first time. Like probably his first time out of the Northeast. I don't know the kid. Maybe he's. I mean, I do know I don't know the kid that well. Maybe he's driven somewhere before.
You're acquainted.
Yeah. But this is probably like his first big trip of his life, or at least one of them. And
he made a good point earlier. He's like, a lot of people don't leave where they grew up.
Yeah,
it's a common thing.
And I noticed like it was eye opening for them to be in a different culture, to be in the South and see how the way of life is there. And, and we got to, it was a lot of fun. We there were some snafus along the way. Like, they didn't have the Suburban we rented. So
you had to rent like a Prius?
Well, so I'll tell you the story. So the college put us down for a Suburban, like a 3-row, 7-8 passenger SUV, because we had 7 people. We ended up with 6, but either way, we would have needed a big car.
Yeah.
So the rental company gave us a Toyota Highlander.
Okay.
Which is a big SUV, but as people who know cars will know, Highlanders don't have a 3rd row.
Mm.
The Toyota Sequoia is the one that has the 3rd row. The Highlanders are built on a Toyota Tacoma platform, so it's a mid-sized truck.
So we had a Santa Claus situation.
We had a Santa Claus situation where somebody was going to have to ride in the trunk.
Okay.
And the kids were willing to do that. They were willing to draw straws and figure out who was going to take the L.
But Georgia state law says
Georgia state law and the coaches of the operation, we were not willing to do that. So we went up and initially Todd demanded a bigger car because that's what we paid for and that's what we were put down for. So I don't really understand why they did not have it.
Well, it's a tough situation right now because there's not a lot of rental cars out there.
It's not a tough situation to reserve the thing that was asked to be reserved for.
We're in a different world, Nick Paradies.
It's like that Seinfeld bit, you know? You know how to take the reservation. You just don't know how to hold the reservation.
Yes.
But so I did some scouting while he was over in the parking lot because I like cars. I just wanted to go around and see what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Out the corner of my eye, what should I see but a nice Silverado over there.
Ooh, like
2020 Silverado. And I thought, I wonder. I look in. Sure enough, it's got the bench seat. So I go over and I'm like, hey, just so you know, Todd, that truck over there, that's got the bench seat. It can seat 6. We'd have to put all our bags in the trunk and, hope they don't get rained on while we're driving to Macon. Because we flew into Atlanta, but we were staying in Macon because the race was kind of out in the countryside. Mm-hmm. So we were staying in Macon. It's about an hour away. So he's like, we'll take the truck. And they're like, no, we're going to go up and find you the thing that you asked for. So they go up to find the thing that we asked for, and we're waiting a while. And I'm like, let's just take the truck. And he goes, we'll take the truck. And they're like, no, it's okay. We're going to figure out something for you. And then we wait a little longer, and he and I say to each other, you know what? I'll go over and I was like, you know what? You go over and you tell the kids to just put their stuff in the trunk of in the bed of the truck.
What are they going to do? Kick us out?
And get in the truck, and I'll say, we're taking the truck.
Where's the keys?
Yeah, and so that's what I did. I said, we're taking the truck, and then they wrote it down. And we took the truck. And
no rain befell you?
There was rain on the way down. But we were going fast enough, because we're going highway speed at that point. We're on the interstate. So we were going fast enough that light rain plus the weather and the speed kind of canceled it out. Okay. And it didn't get super wet.
A little Lowe's trip could have sufficed with a tarp if you really wanted to go that route. But...
Yeah, but we were saving our money for big shit. Like we went to this arcade our last night, and they got to have fun doing that, and I got to have fun playing skee ball.
Ooh, that's a classic arcade experience.
We went to multiple nice restaurants, and by nice restaurants I mean Texas Roadhouse, Popeyes, and Glory Days Bar and Grill, which, by the way, shout out Glory Days Bar and Grill, Macon, Georgia. Excellent service and excellent atmosphere, and the only sports bar I've ever seen where they also have Nick Jr. on. So that was very.
You gotta have something for the children.
Yeah.
It's very important.
They were showing some weird show, like living monster trucks. It made no sense to me, but I'm sure.
That would be, I know the show, but
yeah.
But I don't know what.
The one where there's a human and.
Yeah.
But he's the only human in the world, and all the other trucks are sentient.
Yes.
It's very, very odd.
Very, very distinct there.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for all your fellas there, and.
But yeah, it was awesome, and to have, it was just great to have everybody there, because I've been to nationals since the first year I ran.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to D3 nationals every year. You know, I went 2 times as a runner. I went 1 time as a volunteer. I just went out of my own pocket because I wanted to see. It was 2 friends of mine from when I did ran, so I wanted to see how their season ended. And then I went twice as a coach. And it never loses its luster for me. You know, to see all of those teams and all of these people from literally all over the country. Like it's amazing. You know, the champion was from Illinois. The second place kid was, I think, from North Carolina. There was a top 10 team from New York. There was a top 10 team from New Jersey. There was a top 10 team from Missouri. You know, it is all over the place. You know, so it was good for my runners to sort of break out of that bubble and get to see, you know, different people who do the same thing that they do but come from a wildly different background. And it was Georgia Military College was the school that hosted the event, and they did an excellent job, I gotta say. Like, they had shirts and hats made for the winning teams and the winning runners. They had plaques set up. They had on-site merch, which is where I was able to get this lovely sweater.
It's very nice.
Yeah, with full customization. Like this, it didn't come like this. I put this flag shit on there. It was one of the designs they had.
Oh, they let you actually? They had like a press, and
they had a press. They had
cool.
food trucks there.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is all out on a farm in somebody's backyard in rural Georgia. So they had all this shit out there. By the way, the Jamaican food truck, excellent. And I love the fact that the guy was packing heat while he was cooking the food. I happened to see that.
At least you know you're safe while you're eating your, I don't know, what's Jamaican food?
I noticed that. I pointed out to my kid and, I pointed out to my runners and goes, damn, he's packing right now. I said, yeah, stay strapped or get clapped, bro.
Be like, look where you are.
Yeah, it's the South, man. There's a lot of people packing, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact laws of Georgia, but I assume it's a concealed carry state because I saw more than one instance.
Yeah, more than you would see up here in liberal Larry, New York.
Yeah. And it was nice for me because, as I've made a point of mentioning on the show before, I am strongly considering moving down south to pursue music. And, you know, it's not Nashville, it's Georgia, it's a different state, but
it's the South.
It's the South, and to be able to, I think this is my advice to anybody who's thinking of moving anywhere. Go visit a place, and like I said, it's obviously not the same, but culturally it's similar enough that you can kind of get a reading. And obviously I've been to Nashville before, so I'm not going into this blind, but go to these places and don't see the sights. Like, visit them. If you're thinking of moving there, don't visit and see the big sights. Visit and just kind of live normally and think about the context of what would my everyday life be like if I was
Where am I going to
here?
go study if I'm educated, or where would I go to practice?
Right.
If I was an athlete, where would I go to the gym?
Exactly.
What's the good pizza place down there? Stuff like that.
Exactly. And I was making mental notes of that. And not only that, but like how will I interact with the people around me?
Yeah.
And that was really cool because I feel like one of the things I love about the South is it's a lot more slowed down. You know what I mean? Like, there's less hustle and bustle and stress.
It's pretty slow, like up in our part of the state, though. It's not like
but that's my point. It reminds me of here.
Yeah.
You know, it's
you want to stay in a place that's not going to be too much for you.
Yeah, it's an easy transition.
I don't think that'd be a problem for you. It would probably be a problem for me because I'm used to this environment and I like this environment.
Right.
But
yeah, and then of course on the way back is where kind of the wheels fell off. Because, well,
how much alcohol was consumed?
By me?
Yes. You of legal drinking age, of course.
Yes. None by the kids.
Because they are obviously not of drinking age.
They're not of drinking age. I had beers and, drinks and stuff, but not on the company's dime. I paid for it myself.
Good boy.
But yeah, and not while I was working. So, wasn't loaded at the meat or anything like that.
I wouldn't expect that from you.
Strictly
business.
Strictly business, exactly.
Yes.
But but So when we were driving back, we actually missed the exit for the airport initially and drove into downtown Atlanta by mistake and had to turn around. And we nearly missed the plane. We were this close to missing the plane.
That would have been fun tonight.
So it would have been. So I almost was not here because...
I mean, we could have totally just, called you up on the Google call and we could have gotten you wired in live from the airplane.
Yeah, I would have been fine with that. But we got our bags checked in at... The check-in time for the flight was 8:30 a.m. We got our bags checked in at like 8:10-ish. And then the TSA line was so ungodly long that we literally almost missed the flight. Like, Todd and Sam sprinted once they got out. And I stayed behind for a second because I guess Antonio had water in his bag or something, so they pulled it aside and they had to do the extra inspection. By the way, I'll get into a TSA rant in a minute, so don't you worry. But
I haven't been on a plane in like 15 years, so this is news to me.
But yeah, so they pulled him aside, and we tried to see where they had went, and Sam ended up calling me and like gave me directions, but I didn't know where the fuck I was going.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, we're just gonna get on the air train and hope for the best. And we did that, and we made it with 1 minute to spare. They closed the gates at
as your foot was exiting the door.
They literally closed the gates at 8:55. We got there at 8:54. We were the last and they waited for us, of course, but we were the last 6 people on the plane.
Yeah.
And then when we got, so obviously I didn't eat breakfast because we were rushing there. I didn't have time to go to the Dunkin' Donuts in the airport.
Get your iced tea.
Big shame. When we flew back, we had a layover in Charlotte. We flew down direct on JetBlue. I'm not sure why they booked 2 different flights. I guess maybe it was cheaper that way, but we flew down direct from JFK to Atlanta on JetBlue. We flew back from Atlanta to JFK on American Airlines with a layover in Charlotte. So we flew into Charlotte. It was about 35 minutes from Atlanta to Charlotte, which ended up being almost an hour because we taxied in Charlotte for like 20 minutes out on the runway while they were looking for a place to put us. So Douglas Airport and Charlotte, get your act together. Know when your flights are... So we get there, and like the changeover is happening right then. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Now I don't even have time to get food here, which I was planning on doing. So I go by, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's a Burger King up ahead on the way. Maybe I'll go in there and get something. The Burger King line is from here to the end of that closet. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like 60 people deep. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So I have to run down there, and I'm running into every place. I'm like, okay, is this place open? No, it's not. Oh, wait, because Chick-fil-A's closed on Sunday. Oh, wait, this place is closed because it's the South and shit's closed on Sunday. Oh, wait, Wendy's line is too long, so I can't do that. I ended up luckily seeing Todd farther up in the Wendy's line and successfully cut the line. But, so I did get my food. Then we get on the plane, and American Airlines, I just want to rant about a few things real fast.
They haven't had a good few years.
Number one, I understand the safety thing.
Yeah.
I understand that I have a responsibility as a citizen to keep everybody safe by wearing my mask. But if I have to do it, how come the pilots don't have to do it? Because I saw those motherfuckers, and they didn't have masks on, okay? I saw them exposed. American Airlines exposed. Breaking news. And I said that in direct earshot of the flight. I made sure that the flight attendant could hear me when I said it. I said to one of my kids, I was like, hey man, why do we have to do this and they don't?
You share the same air.
Yes, exactly.
So if the pilot has coronavirus,
yeah,
then everybody on the plane has coronavirus.
Yes. Thankfully, that did not happen as far as I know. I mean, I guess I'll find out in a few days if they text me, but I'm going to assume that everything's fine.
Yeah.
But But so yeah, and then we get on the plane. Now JetBlue reminder, JetBlue is a budget airline. American Airlines is top of the line. JetBlue is a budget.
Okay.
JetBlue is
I wouldn't know.
JetBlue is like called a regional carrier. It's for like shorter haul flights. American Airlines is like the big, like American Airlines, Delta, United. Those are the big national carriers where they have first class and they pull out all the stops. Not on our plane, by the way. No first class on this Airbus, but you know.
What do you expect?
What do you expect? It's a connector flight from Charlotte to New York. I'm not expecting first class. But you know what I am expecting, Matt Dixon? I'm expecting such simple things as free Wi-Fi and a TV in the back of the seat where I can do things with it.
Not always had.
Do you know why I was expecting those things? Because the budget carrier airline had them!
Thank you.
Why doesn't the national carrier have free Wi-Fi? Why doesn't the national carrier have a screen in front of my seat?
We love peaking. 100%.
Why? What is going on at American Airlines? This is ridiculous. I want to hear from American Airlines customer service. This is ridiculous.
Let's call them up.
Let's do it, but off the air.
Yes.
I'm not going to expose these guys live on the air
not
any
their
more
fault.
than I already have. It's not their fault. It's the corporation's fault for the.
It's the man's fault.
It's the utter incompetence leading the way at American Airlines.
This is why I don't fly. I refuse to fly.
Yeah, it's not fun. By the way, TSA, the biggest joke in the world. It has saved nobody. It's just coincidence that there hasn't been a big terrorist attack in the last 20 years. Yeah. The TSA has saved nothing. All it's done is make shit incredibly more inconvenient for the working man. Now I have to take my shoes off and stand like this, like an asshole, and spin around in a circle and click my heels and say, there's no place like home.
Remember that years back there was those people complaining because they had the x-rays at the TSA?
They threw away my cologne.
How much was the cologne?
It was $5 because it was Old Spice cologne that I bought at Target, but they still threw it away. Why can't I have cologne on the plane?
If anybody's by the garbage can at Terminal 5 in the O'Hare, whatever the airport's called.
JFK,
then...
Why can't I have cologne on the plane?
Because you could conceal an explosive in there.
No, I can't!
Sure you can.
Why can't you just open it and sniff?
Why would you know that? How would you know you can't hold a bomb in that small of a container?
Okay, I guess I've been exposed. Why can't you just open it and sniff? Don't they have bomb-smelling dogs at these places? Why don't they just hold the can of cologne in front of the fucking dog's nose?
Did you know at one point you weren't able to bring, like, a box cutter, or you were able to bring, like, a box cutter on the plane and you could bring matches?
Do you remember Indiana Jones? He brought his piece on the plane and then smoked a cigar on it. I'm not saying we need to go back to those days, but this is ridiculous. I shouldn't be checking in 2.5 hours before the plane leaves because I gotta spend half of that time waiting for some idiot to check my bag. And you know what? They don't even check the bag. When I went through Atlanta, this was the wildest part. They didn't even check me. I didn't have to take my shoes off. They didn't pat me down. They didn't do anything. I could have brought anything on that plane with me. They didn't even care.
You could have stabbed the pilot.
I could have.
For his lack of masking. Which would have been a very, he could have been the poster boy for the pro-mask movement.
Bro, like, the whole thing is...
You need to go on a plane more often. This is great content.
I should. I honestly should. My ear is still popping, actually.
I wish my life was as interesting as yours when you go on a flight.
Dude, the lesson of this podcast is don't drink too much Diet Coke. And
don't fly American Airlines.
Don't fly American Airlines at all. At least until they get their shit together.
I'll be driving cross country to Florida this spring.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You and the lady?
Yep, we're taking this trip to Sarasota.
Nice.
So we're gonna be driving across the great states of the United States.
Nice.
That'll be fun because I don't fly. So
yeah.
And we decided it would have been a lot more expensive anyway because we had to rent a car for a week, and that's not obviously based on your little situation there. We don't want to be renting a car.
I mean, it was actually better for us in the long run because the truck was actually cheaper than a Suburban would have been. But
yeah, but it just it's nice to get a vacation. I haven't been on a real vacation in probably like 5 years. So.
Yeah, that's why I'm taking a few. Like I took the whole week off from work from last Wednesday to this Wednesday, And I could go back. There's shifts available tomorrow. I could pick one up, but I'm not going to. I need a few days to decompress.
You gonna come with me when I see my first theater movie in over a year?
I might, man. What are you seeing?
We're gonna go see the Velvet Underground documentary over at the Pleasantville Theater near Tarrytown.
Yeah, I might go to that.
Yeah, might bring our friend of the show, Charles Bodensieck. He might join us.
Okay,
because I know he's a fan.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, because I just saw it and I'm like, that'd be nice to go see a documentary in theaters. It's been a while.
It would be, man, and especially the Velvet Underground. That's a subject that obviously is connected to me and near and dear to my heart.
What was that supposed to mean? Just the heart?
Heart, yeah.
This is your heart right here?
Okay.
Fair enough. I know nothing about the Velvet Underground, so I
love their song "Sweet Jane."
Yeah,
garage band, Nick Parody's garage band classic.
We love it.
Sweet Jane, da na 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 na. Sweet Jane.
You'll have to serenade it with me sometime.
Yeah, great song. It genuinely, and so the Velvet. Just a little bit of background. The Velvet Underground. You
educate me. I don't know much.
You might not know them, but you've definitely seen their logo. It's the banana.
Well, that's one of their albums, right?
Yeah,
that's the.
But so the band was, they were kind of the first indie rock band, first alternative rock. Like literally everything in alternative rock can be traced back to the Velvet Underground because they were kind of the first guys to do it. They were the first. It was kind of in the prog era, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
So it was when, the Beatles were going psychedelic with like Sgt. Pepper's and the White Album and all that stuff. It was when the Stones were experimenting with different sounds, like, Brian Jones was playing sitar and marimba and all this crazy stuff, and it was when The Who was writing these big rock operas and using synthesizers a lot, and Velvet Underground kind of took things in a different direction, and they kind of brought it more lo-fi. They didn't have the best equipment, so they used that to their advantage to create interesting new sounds. They wrote about people on kind of the underbelly of society. Like, there's kind of debate about what Sweet Jane is about, but most people say it's about a prostitute, so that's just one example. And it's the two main members of the band, obviously, have went on to be some of the biggest musical legends of all time. Number one, Lou Reed was the vocalist, and Lou Reed is one of the biggest musicians of the last 50 years. I mean, he's been incredibly relevant for a long time. He's worked with everybody from Metallica to, like, you name them. And
isn't there also that adage where it's like there's more people who were inspired by the Velvet Underground than there are fans of the Velvet Underground?
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I like Velvet Underground songs, but I wouldn't call myself a Velvet Underground fan. I just
they have a nice aesthetic to them.
They do have a nice
I'd like to learn more.
Yeah. But like, there's literally everything. Sonic Youth, Nirvana, Ramones. Punk rock wouldn't exist without the Velvet Underground. Grunge wouldn't exist without the Velvet Underground. Art rock wouldn't exist without the Velvet Underground. Modern stuff like the 1975, like the shoegaze type of stuff where they're doing like kind of out there effect. U2 would be nothing without the Velvet Underground. It all kind of, that they're the genesis. They're the Beatles for alternative culture, basically. And then also the other main member of the band was John Cale, who is the guitarist, and John Cale has become like a legendary jazz musician, kind of art music avant-garde composer. So he's done a lot of interesting things too.
Definitely fits with the Andy Warhol vibe they were going for back then.
Definitely.
So, I've been enjoying a lot of not doing the social media thing to give an update on that, because I know I've been kind of going off the grid completely these days.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
It's been very, very therapeutic, very soothing to not have to worry about the outside world in a greater capacity as I used to, as far as like on the internet. It's something I highly recommend anybody do out there, especially if you're, on every social media platform in a personal sense.
Right.
I think it's something that everybody should at least try, because I know there's a few people out there who kind of live on social media. It's part of their livelihood,
right,
as far as like their work and everything. Somebody like Mr. Beat, for example,
right.
But if you have no connection to the internet and you have no connection to any sort of these social media platforms,
Yeah.
I think it's a really healthy step to get away from it, because you find yourself, being more, engaged in things that are not the internet. You have more engaging conversations with people. You find it maybe easier to talk to people because then you have to interact with people in society, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a little update about that. I've been a lot happier just not being,
You seem happier.
I just don't feel as bogged down. Like I wasn't a big social media guy, but it's sort of like, okay, you click on this person thing and you see what this person is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're not on there, you don't see any of that. So it's I'm not an envious person. I don't hold any sort of jealousy for anybody.
Right.
But it makes you think when you're exposed to certain people, even if it's not people like even like certain quote unquote hype beasts or gurus or anything like that. Like lately my girlfriend's been pointing out that I really turned on Gary Vee lately.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been following him anymore. Because I just got kind of tired of the like grind set, Not that it's bullshit, just like it's really stressful.
And I feel like you've gotten tired of Joe Rogan also.
I really have gotten tired of Joe Rogan lately.
We were talking before the show about how he's once again gone off the deep end.
I was never a huge fan of his, but he always like, okay, I'll listen to his episode with Ben Shapiro because maybe he has some salient points. But most of the time, it's not usually the case. It's
there must be something in the water down there in Austin. I think he's been hanging out with Alex Jones and Eddie Bravo.
And Elon Musk and all these people.
Yeah.
He's also kind of gone off the deep end lately. He's been tweeting a lot about, he tweeted at Bernie Sanders today and said, I didn't even know you were still alive.
Elon did?
Yes.
That's honestly funny.
And then he was like tweeting like, where do you want me to send my $1 million in taxes or whatever? And then some guy commented at the bottom, he's like, you're only selling that stock because you have to, something like that. So these billionaires, my guy.
Ridiculous.
Oh boy.
So I was going to put together a list, but in lieu of putting together a list, I have found a quiz that I want to see if you can get.
Okay. Is it like trivia?
Yes. I know you're a huge baseball guy.
Okay.
So this quiz is, can you name all the pitchers who have thrown multiple no-hitters in their career? We're going to do this.
How many are there?
There are a total of 20. I don't know. It doesn't have an exact number, but it's between 20 and 30.
All right.
So let's see how many you can get.
Justin Verlander.
Okay. That is 1. Yeah.
Homer Bailey.
Bailey, 2.
Roy Halladay.
Okay. So far, so good. Go ahead and say my guy, because I know you want to.
Did Bumgarner throw more than 1?
Not that my guy.
Your guy.
My other guy.
Your guy on...
Same team.
Matt Cain?
No. Same team.
Other one.
My Hall of Famer. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
On the Giants?
Yes. I ride the train for him forever.
Oh, Tim Lincecum.
Yes, my stoner buddy,
Your
Tim
boy.
Lincecum.
The man
Big time Timmy Jim.
The man who disappeared.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to like
We've got 4 so far.
Okay, the OOs. I can't really... Was there more in the 2000s that I'm missing?
There's a couple big ones you're missing.
In the OOs?
So remember, this is just 2 or more. Well,
Okay.
not necessarily in the 2000s, but just 2 big ones that I think that you definitely... I know you know. 2 big ones.
Can you give me is it the 2010s?
No, it's prior to that.
The 2000s?
So one was the 60s and one was the 70s and 80s.
The 60s... Well, Nolan Ryan would be the 70s, obviously.
Yep. Nolan Ryan was 7, of course.
The 60s would have been Sandy Koufax.
Yes, sir. So you got 7. You got the 2 most. Nolan Ryan obviously was 7.
Yeah.
Sandy with 4.
Did Jim Palmer throw multiple no-hitters?
Sorry, Jim Palmer was not on the list. He does have one, but not more than one.
Somebody who's the guy that threw multiple? This is all time.
Yeah,
Johnny Vandermeer, the only person to throw 2 consecutive no-hitters.
That's correct.
Yes,
he's on there.
Cy Young probably threw a few no-hitters.
Cy Young did. He threw 3.
Okay.
Same number as our boy Justin V.
Christy Mathewson maybe threw a couple no-hitters.
Yes, sir. Mathewson is on the list.
Okay. Let's try the 80s. Who would have thrown a no-hitter in the 80s? You might have to help me a little bit more.
Okay.
So is that all of them for the 2000s? Am I missing any?
You are missing a couple. There was one who famously blew the whistle on a big baseball scandal.
Blew the whistle on a big baseball scandal.
Recent big baseball scandal.
Mike Fiers threw 2 no-hitters?
Mike Fiers threw 2 no-hitters.
That's a weird one. Okay.
There was a former Cy Young winner on the list who was part of a World Series championship drought breaker. Mid-2010s. He won the Cy Young the next year. He won the World Series, and since then he's faded from...
So this would be the Chicago Cubs?
Yep.
Okay, what pitcher would be on the Cubs? Did John Lester throw that many no-hitters?
John Lester did not.
Okay.
His teammate did.
His teammate, pitcher on the Cubs in 2016. Jake Arrieta?
Jake Arrieta, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
Faded since then, unfortunately.
Yeah. Did Juan Marichal throw 2 no-hitters?
Juan Marichal did not.
But
there is a guy with a similar sound in his name who was a former teammate of Justin Verlander. Another Cy Young winner, World Series champion. Potentially could win the Cy Young again this year.
Former Giant?
Former National.
Oh, Max Scherzer would
Max
be.
Scherzer, yes, sir.
Mr. Max Scherzer. How many I got so far?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So I need 8 more?
You need more than 8 more.
How much in the weeds would I be for the rest of them? Or are they kind of difficult?
There's a few that are pretty... There's a few that
Randy Johnson,
Randy
obviously.
Johnson, yes. So we've got 13 now.
Did Clemens ever throw 2 no-hitters?
Clemens never threw one at all,
That's
believe
surprising.
it or not. So there's a few that I know you won't get because
Yeah.
they're from the 1800s or whatever.
Okay.
So one would be Larry Corcoran. He was the first person to throw multiple.
Okay.
So I'll give you Larry Corcoran. He has 3 in his career.
Can I get Carl Hubble? Did he throw more than 1 no-hitter?
Carl Hubble did not.
Okay. Who's the other?
I'll give you Addy Joss. He was the first person to throw a perfect game and a no-hitter.
Okay.
I'll give you Virgil Trucks, who is only significant in baseball history
because
through the no-hitters, and is really only significant in world history because he spawned us Butch Trucks, the drummer of the legendary Allman Brothers Band.
We love to see it. So how many are left in the time period that I would know?
We got Randy Johnson. So there's one big one left from the 2000s that I feel like you know. White Sox, Blue Jay, Marlin. He played for these teams. World Series champion 2005 with the White Sox. Part of the Marlins' big free agent spree in 2012. And
Anibal Sanchez?
No, not Anibal Sanchez. Although he does have one. But this guy is 2.
Josh Beckett?
Not Josh Beckett. He was part of the Marlins in 2012 when they signed Reyes and
Mark Burley?
Mark Burley, yes, sir.
He has multiple? Okay.
Multiple.
Okay.
A no-hitter and a perfect game.
Okay.
And then I'm just looking here. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on the list that would jump out at you.
Probably not.
But I'll try for 2 more. One is an all-time legendary pitcher.
What decade was it?
40s and 50s. He
40s.
threw 3 for the Indians.
Oh, Bob Feller.
Bob Feller,
the
yep.
legend.
And then the other one is a Red Sox, former Red Sox and Dodger legend. Not really a legend. He was just kind of an average pitcher. But he was the first foreign man to throw 2 no-hitters.
Would that be
So the first one not born in this country.
Would that be your boy Louis Theon?
It would not be.
Would that be
He's Japanese.
Oh, that would be the only man to pitch a no-hitter before he went to the Mets and after he was on the Mets, Hideo Nomo.
Yes, sir. Hideo Nomo.
That's your trivia for the day.
Well done.
So, cool. All right, that's probably as much as I could get.
Yeah, not bad, considering that a lot of these guys are pre-integration era.
I'm usually pretty okay with my names.
Yeah.
Not so much with stats, but I'm pretty good at remembering names. But that's
So the other ones on the list were Jim Bunning, Steve Busby, Carl Erskine.
Jim Bunning threw a perfect game against the Mets.
He did. Bob Forch.
One of 2 perfect games that was thrown against the Mets that year.
Was that like the Rays when they had like 3 no-hitters thrown against them in the span of a calendar year? Yeah.
Actually, I think it might have been 60. It might have been 64 that Jim Bunning threw that perfect game. I don't remember. But I know, it was pretty significant because who gets 2 perfect games thrown against them in the course of 5 years?
The Mets do.
Of course. Typical Mets.
By the way, typical Mets, how have they not hired a GM yet?
All right. Well, the word on the street is that they really want to hire that David Stern guy on the Brewers.
But the Brewers won't let him talk to him.
But the thing is, here's what...
Why don't they just hire Billy Beane?
Well, here's the thing. Billy Beane doesn't want to do it because I think Billy Beane doesn't want to go through all that again. He's already set his clause in Oakland. That's where he's going to stay.
Okay.
So what I'm understanding is that David Stern would probably come to the Mets, but he has 1 year left on his contract with an option for 2023.
Okay.
So the talk is the Mets would either keep Sandy as the general manager, president of baseball operations at Jace for the next season, and then sign Stearns when he's available next year.
Okay.
If he doesn't decide, I don't know if it's a team option or a whatever you would call that.
Okay.
His option.
So the Steve Cohen is playing the long game, essentially.
Because I guess Steve Cohen and the owner of the Brewers are not very fond of each other.
Well, Steve Cohen doesn't seem like he's very fond of.
No, he's not. He's not a very likable guy. It seems like he seems like kind of one of those typical financial wizard people.
Yeah.
And but anyway, it's typical Mets. What do you expect?
Oh, you are in the driver's seat, my friend.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill touchdown.
Hell yeah, we love it. For those of you wondering, I hope there's many who were wondering. I am still undefeated in fantasy this year.
Yeah.
My reign of terror continues, and I think it will continue forever.
The Chiefs are about to score again, so
I'm up to 67% likelihood of winning.
So I've got a few MLB free agency hot take predictions for you.
I'm disappointed that my prediction this year did not go well at all. I thought Madison Bumgarner was going to take the leap and go back to the Giants for a late season push.
I wanted him to, but
but there might have just been he might have been tired of living there now, and maybe he might have settled in Arizona.
And also, I think Farhan Zaidi, who's the Zaidi, I'm not sure how to say his name, so forgive me, but the Giants GM he's more of an analytics guy. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who'd bring in Bumgarner just for sentimental
Bumgarner
reasons.
is very traditional. I think he's like old school baseball pitcher.
Especially since they did so well with Gosman and DeSclafani and kind of these throwaway guys.
Yeah.
Like their rotation was kind of the most effective in the game, and they were paying less for the whole thing than they would have been paying on just Bumgarner's contract.
Billy Beane has entered the chat.
Yeah, but definitely. I mean. But
also a side point is that the more that Madison Bumgarner stays on a losing shitty team, the more his World Series record of a .25 ERA stays intact.
That's true.
Because the minute he pitches in another game, he's going to lose it. You know it's going to happen.
So here are a couple free agency hot takes for you.
Okay.
So I think the Phillies are going to be huge spenders this offseason.
Why do you say that?
Well, number one, they have Dave Dombrowski running their baseball operations. And
you're very familiar.
I am very familiar. He orchestrated the best Red Sox team in franchise history. Some would argue the best team in the last 20 years in baseball history. Some would just say. I would just say.
I'd argue you're probably close to that.
Yeah, I mean, like the only other, there's a few in competition. Like the '98 Yankees are close. That's debatable. The Mariners with the 116 wins, but they didn't win the championship.
That's
that
Tonga truck
sours it.
because you need to get past the division series.
Yes. But
make a dent.
So Dave Dombrowski is one reason. Joe Girardi's not getting any younger, and I know he wants to win another ring. But also, they have a decent amount of money, and they're a big market team. They sometimes try to act like they're not, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to be huge players. I predict that they're definitely going to sign Nick Castellanos out of the Reds, and that'll give a nice power contact bat behind Bryce Harper. So I mean, you can do a lot worse than Bryce Harper as your 3-hitter and Nick Castellanos as your 4. I mean, Nick Castellanos almost won the batting title.
Yeah. Didn't he used to play for the Tigers?
He did.
Yeah.
Another Tiger that they let slip away.
And yet they're still paying Miguel Cabrera for the next 4 years.
Yeah. I think the Phillies are going to be huge spenders. Nick Castellanos, I think they're going to sign at least 2 of the big free agent pitchers. For example, give me Robbie Ray and maybe a Clayton Kershaw.
Maybe a Kevin Gausman.
Maybe a Kevin Gausman. But
is Kershaw going to stay with the Dodgers? They didn't give him a qualifying offer.
They didn't give him a qualifying offer. I don't think they want him back. That was kind of what I was going to go as another one of my hot takes. I don't think the Dodgers want Kershaw back.
That'd be really weird.
It would be, but also like they've kind of moved on. They've got Dustin May, they've got Walker Buehler, they've got Urias. They don't really need him anymore.
They have a very loaded team.
Yeah.
Which has always been a common trend with them. They always have more than they need.
And the Dodgers have so many free agents. They have like 12 or 13 free agents. It's crazy. They can't afford to keep all of them. And I think if they had to pick between the 2 of them, they would probably rather keep Scherzer.
Yeah.
Because Scherzer is just better right now. He's playing at a higher level right now.
I could see Verlander maybe going over there.
I couldn't. I don't think they'd have enough money to pay him.
No?
I think Verlander is either going to want to go one of 2 places. I think he's going to go home to Detroit, or he's going to go to an East Coast AL East team.
What about the NL East? What about my boys?
The Mets?
Yes.
I don't see it happening.
It never happens.
No. I could see the Red Sox happening.
Maybe.
But I
think the Sox were really close. I think they're right there.
A real true top of the line starter would kind of push us over the edge.
They're a really good team.
Yeah. I would love to see Verlander as a Red Sox. I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know if Chaim Bloom wants to put
the legend.
Yeah. I don't know. My guy Chaim, I love that man, but I don't know if Chaim would want to put that kind of Verlander money into, because we've already got the Chris Sale contract where he's had some injury problems. You don't quite know what you're going to get back. I don't know if they want to do that with 2 separate pitchers, but the argument I would make is that the potential upside for that is tremendous. Because if they're both on, then that's a Cy Young, one of the best pitchers of all time, plus one of the best, formerly one of the best, like Chris Sale and Justin Verlander's incredible 1-2 punch. Eddie Rodriguez will probably be back. Evaldi is still going to be there, and he's probably going to finish top 3 or 4 in Cy Young voting.
And you might be able to plug in like maybe an average sort of, like maybe a Gausman, because Gausman, I think.
I don't know if they do that though, because there's a few nice young arms coming up. Like Tanner Houck looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Pivetta looked good. They've talked about trying Garrett Whitlock in the rotation. I don't know if they will. I think he's better suited to be the closer long term.
Where's Clayton Kershaw from?
I'm not sure. Let's find out.
Because is there any team he would go maybe to try to be closer to home? Maybe.
Let's see.
Because I know a lot of the older pitchers, they tend to do that towards the end of their career. They want to stay closer to home.
Clayton Kershaw is from Dallas.
Okay.
So he won't go to the Rangers because they just are not going anywhere.
What about you boys, the Astros? They're about to be like drained, like sucked dry.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would.
Speaking of them, do you think that they will recover from the great free agent drought of 2021?
Do you mean like the fact that Correa is leaving?
Aren't they all leaving pretty much?
No, they've got a bunch that are still under contract.
Okay. They're still unfortunately one of the best teams in majors.
Correa is probably going to leave. I think Correa will go to Detroit.
Detroit?
Yeah, Detroit wants to make a big splash, and there's a few reasons I think that. Number one, Detroit really wants to make a splash. They have a lot of their prospects ready to come up. They want to make a splash. AJ Hinch is the manager there, and we know Correa has that connection from the Astros.
Imagine he just wins another championship and proves everybody wrong.
They could, man. And then the other thing too is that we know the Illiches have a lot of money.
They do.
You know,
they're the owners of the Little Caesars fortune.
Yeah, Detroit. The Tigers are not afraid to spend money.
I would love to see good Detroit baseball.
Me too.
We love our Tigers.
Jack White would love to see.
I'm sure you would.
Baseball.
We're big fans.
But yeah, so those are some of my free agency hot takes. I don't know how hot they actually are.
Yeah.
I think the Astros are going to sign like maybe Marcus Semien or somebody to play shortstop.
Yeah.
And I think there's some big trades that are going to be made that people won't expect. Like, I don't think Jose Ramirez is going to be an Indian next year, or / a Guardian / a Spider.
I mean, I would hope he'd come to my Mets, but they would have to trade more to the Indians.
Yeah.
The Indians will basically have traded farm systems with the Mets at that point.
Yeah. I heard the Blue Jays are really in on J-Ram.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Mm-hmm. They're a good team, too. I could see them kind of... The AL East is always pretty good, except for Baltimore, but, you know, they're really building their stock there. They're a good team.
Baltimore? Yeah.
No, not Baltimore. I'm talking about the Blue Jays.
Well, Baltimore's building their stock too. They got Rutschman coming soon. They got Grayson Rodriguez as the number one pitching prospect. So
yeah, well, at least you can tank for a few years, build a good farm system, but that doesn't mean anything until they put it on the field.
I wonder what's going to happen because of this work stoppage now. Because it's probably going to go into a strike, and they apparently one of the biggest things that they want to get out of the strike is they want to end tanking somehow.
You can never do that. How are you going to tell people, okay, you can't do this, this, and that to...
Yeah, I don't know how you would.
Are we good on time there?
13 minutes left.
Okay. I think it goes to the next file, because I've noticed the last few times that the SD card doesn't have anything on it, so I think it just switches to the next card.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
I mean, if you want to wrap it up, that's fine with me too.
Yeah, you got to go?
I don't have to go. I'm just...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can probably finish up. It's like an hour and a half. It was a good conversation with
Tyreek Hill, 2 touchdowns for you.
Hell yeah! I guess I won the week.
I guess
10-0. Yeah, all his players are done for the week, so I think I'll be fine. Yeah, the only week
you still have Henderson to go and Kittle to go. You're gonna be fine.
The next 2 weeks I'm worried about because I got a lot of buys, and then the last week because I'm gonna be playing John, and if he wins, I'm never gonna live it down. I can't let the lad beat me like that.
Don't worry, John won't win. I'll manifest it for you.
Isn't it too late for trades?
Let's try. Let's find out.
Because at that point, I might just trade for some and do a Mickey Mouse trade. Because I know John would be like, no, there would be no Mickey Mouse trades. And then the last day of the season, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to trade this random player for... I don't know. But it's been fun. It's good to finally win, even though
I can still propose you a trade, so I guess it's still possible.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer that'll be the case, but it's
so
weird that the NFL trade deadline has passed, but the fantasy trade deadline has not.
Is it? So in theory, the best I could do is 16-0 because I have a bye week.
In theory, the best you could do is 17-0 because it's a 17-game regular season.
Okay. No, because we stop at 15 weeks and there's 3 weeks of playoffs, right?
We stop at 14 weeks.
Oh, because it's an extra game this year. Okay, that makes sense. So the best I can do is 17-0.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It is possible.
I need 7 more wins to
What would make you feel worse? If you lose the perfect season on the last day of the year to John, or if you lose the perfect season in the Super Bowl to me?
I would be proud that I lost to you because you're my compadre. I would not ever let John have that because he doesn't deserve it. Because he's scum.
Pond scum.
He's pond scum. He's
Remember, these are Matt Dixon's words, not mine.
Pond scum, Jonathan.
As our
pond
friend
scum. You are you are filth. I'm not going to insult the man like that. I love John. But, he's pond scum. That's what he is.
Pond
He's corn pone.
Tonka truck.
Tonka truck.
Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
Did you see that NFL Twitter poll? Well, I guess you didn't because you're not on social media, but the NFL ran up a poll of like who's been the biggest surprise in football this year, and it was
the Washington football team.
Well, it was like who's been the biggest surprise? Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, and I was looking for the options, and I was like, These are all Dylan's players. How did this happen?
And yet he's still like, well, he's doing okay.
He's about to lose again. He's about to be 5-5.
Yeah.
It's not what you want.
Can we just set this up now? I'm gonna get him another cameo to finally get him to, finally relinquish control. But I think after 3 consecutive losing seasons and me possibly completing the greatest fantasy season of our lifetime,
yes,
it is time for him to step down. He is a horrible commissioner. He is like an old man who's, stuck at the train station, and he's too stubborn to ask anybody to tell him when the train's going to leave.
Old man yells at cloud. Is that what you're saying?
He is just, he's old man Jenkins, and he needs to go. And I think it's time we need new blood in here.
Vote Nick Paradies for commissioner. How
exactly.
About that?
I'll be your running mate. All. So, because Joe, he's just a horrible commissioner. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yes.
He doesn't know the sport. And, we have the better podcast. Let's be real here. Let's be real.
I mean, I'm just saying, Mr. Beat has never come on the grind hours.
How many guests have you had there,
audio.
Joseph?
He's never complimented the grind hours audio, but he did compliment the children's programming audio.
How many winning seasons do you have in the Matt Dixon era there, Joseph Leo? How many seasons have you lost next to me, Joseph Leo?
Joseph Leo.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
He probably won't get this far because he doesn't listen to us because he's not a supporter of our endeavors. Too busy over there doing his, whatever he does.
Uh-oh, called out.
Yes. So,
you
anyway.
See it.
It's not what you want.
No.
Anyway, kids, thank you.
This is what you want. Thank you for listening again to Children's Programming. You have been a wonderful audience. Thank you again to Mr. Beat, Matt the Beat.
Yes, please check him out at Matt Beat, Mr. Beat, everywhere. I think that's pretty much what he is everywhere.
Yeah.
You want some good educational material that's actually educational and actually entertaining. I would describe him as the Bill Murray of political YouTube. It's great.
Yeah,
good stuff.
That's a good comparison.
We thank him for joining us because I know it's very nice to see somebody who's very successful on the platform.
Yeah.
And is able to come here, and not saying that the people we have in the past are not successful, but I feel like he's someone who's like in it right now.
Yeah.
So it's good to see.
He's hardcore. He's hard in the paint every day.
He is
out here on the grind hours, if you will.
So please follow us, everybody, at Children's Programming on Instagram, Chai Programming on Twitter.
Yeah. By the way, I was gonna bring this up to you. We should get like a new intro that's got like the Joe Rogan sound bites. Like we need somebody saying. We need somebody winning a fight and saying, train by day, children's programming podcast by night.
All day.
Yeah, all day.
We need a neon sign. We need cigars, even though I don't smoke, but
yeah.
you can have that if you want.
I'll have it.
So,
yeah.
All right, cool, kids. Remember, kids, don't do drugs. Only the good drugs, Advil, Tylenol, and marijuana.
Yeah.
And, stay good. Do good things.
Stay gold, pony boy.
There you go. Bye-bye.
Get yourself hand tattoos. Do it.
Train by day.
Children's Programming Podcast by night.
All day.